A warm welcome to our Business and Economy program on QTV. The Business and Economy program is intended to promote the ideals of a corporate Gambia identity with the objective of forging partnerships through dialogue between the public and private sector, along with civil society organizations and the international community. As we continue on the serialization episodes on the business environment, in our midst today, we have two distinguished personalities from the insurance industry. By way of introduction, first panelist, Mr. Makare Bajan, Conley Fall Max, by way of introduction, is a member of the UK Chartered Insurance Institute and is a graduate of the West African Insurance Institute. He received his professional training in Germany and the United States of America and has 23 years experience in insurance underwriting, claims administration, customer service, and company operations. Mr. Bajan is currently the Managing Director of Royal Insurance Gambia Limited. He is the current President of the Insurance Association of the Gambia, IAG, and Chairman of the Insurance Association of the Gambia's Technical Committee, and Chairman of the IAG Strategic Development Plan 2017-2021 Committee. He is also the current President of the West African Insurance Companies Association and serves as member of the organization's governing council. Mr. Bajan has served as Executive Committee Board of both the Insurance Association of the Gambia and the Gambia National ECOWAS Brown Card Bureau over the last 16 years with immense contribution towards these organizations. He has served as part-time lecturer at the West African Insurance Institute for over 8 years. Before joining Royal Insurance Gambia Limited, he was co-founder and executive director responsible for corporate client accounts and risk management services at Appropriate Insurance Solutions Company Limited, an insurance brokerage and consultancy firm. Mr. Bajan, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts.
By way of introduction of the second panelist, Mr. Bowen John, Mr. Frederick Bowen John, who qualified as an associate of the Chartered Insurance Institute of London in 1996 and holds an executive MBA from the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. He has a bachelor's degree in history with a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of Sierra Leone. Mr. Frederick Bowen John is the Director General and head of the mission of West African Insurance Institute, WI, in the Gambia, an institute that enjoys full diplomatic status and which is the foremost sub-regional insurance training institution in Anglophone West Africa. His experience spans over 25 years, having held various positions from an insurance underwriting clerk in 1990 at Oriole Insurance Company Limited to senior underwriting manager. He joined Great Alliance Insurance Company Limited in 2006 and would become its deputy managing director from 2007 to 2013 before his appointment in 2014 as the Director General of West Africa Insurance Institute. Mr. Frederick Bowen John, welcome to the program as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, viewers.
Insurance, gentlemen, as a business has over the years in the Gambia evolved. Insurance has evolved over the years in the Gambia. Insurance companies by number have grown by almost twofold, if not more. And it has seen a diversification, if you will, in the product and service mix that it offers to its various businesses and clientele. We have seen a great departure, from the traditional insurance products of auto, mortgage, medical, marine, cargo insurance, to now new products that are still evolving in the market in terms of life insurance, death insurance, even I've seen education, unemployment insurance, and other variants of the traditional insurance products, the Sharia compliant products being an example. I also understand that the degree to which insurance companies engage in reinsurance underwriting, has also significantly increased and becoming, more diversified as well. These, to me, are all indicative of a growing industry. These, to me, are indicative of an industry that is evolving. These, to me, are indicative of an industry, really, that is putting its house in order. Now, the question I want to ask is, has the insurance industry in the Gambia come of age, or is it still in the process? Any of you can take this question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberts, and I would say a very good evening to the viewers out there. To say thank you very much for having us in on your program. We must first commend you for such good initiative. The business and economy program has some good objectives that will actually really make a big difference in our advocacy and call for a correlation of our different sectors. And as I said, the insurance industry is actually come of age in that in the Gambia, particularly, it was the colonial masters that had, like European companies, that had insurance operated as a side, kind of a business, like a desk. And then we got to the point where you had the 2, 3, they really short of the Europeans actually left out. And some Gambians, bold Gambians, took up the decision to actually take this on. Because insurance is actually really a great need for any economy in this world. And we, of course, then I think it used to be more like motor insurances. And marine actually said, because mainly on imports, but then we've come to the, point of actually making sure that we meet the demands of our economy, our society, businesses and individuals likewise, to the extent of actually giving what they need. But of course, insurance in this world is one and the same. So we basically cull a lot from what is actually prevailing in the bigger markets, wider markets, to get it out there to the doorsteps of our Gambian populace and businesses to ensure that they have the economic protection that they actually really desire.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think I must commend you for the depth of knowledge you have displayed by listing out all the range of products that we offer as insurance companies. I think with this knowledge you've displayed, there's no need for you to even go to the institute. You should just be a diploma. Yes. But as you've said, insurance is dynamic and it's evolving. And insurance is international in the sense that it knows no boundary. In fact, that's why you've referred to reinsurance. And we are in a small global village, so we are compelled to move with the times. So insurance, as with every other sector in the economy, would definitely grow as the economy goes. So of course we are coming of age, and I think we're doing well. We're trying to respond to the needs of the insuring public.
Excellent. Well, I'll be honest. I've learned a lot as long as insurance is concerned from my engagements with Max. So, and having to host such a program, you always have to undertake some research as well. So I'm still learning, and the questions that I would pose would showcase to you that you're learning, and that I'm learning. But going back to the point that you made, Max, I mean, I know you're fondly called Max, so I will call you Max on this program. I mean, I would go from Max to Mr. Bajan and stuff. Yeah. You mentioned the fact that when the colonial masters, if I may use that word loosely, left and there was a vacuum, some bold Gambians decided to take up this challenge. From the basic research I have done regarding the association, I cannot help but look at the Insurance Association of the Gambia and looked at the people who you had showcased as those people that underpinned the creation of the insurance, going as far back as 1987, and that is quite some time back. The likes of Messrs. Omar Diba, Dudu Tal, and Babu Sese. You know, were these people ahead of themselves at the time, 87? when they decided that they were going to form the Insurance Association of the Gambia. And if you may dilate a little bit on the objectives for which the association was conceived and formed at the time, what sort of a progress have you managed in fulfilling those obligations, those objectives?
Thank you. We have to give it out to these guys. Uncle Dudutal, as we fondly call him, late Alhaji Babu Sise, and late Omar Diba, had the foresight and vision to actually work together as an industry. You know, because that was the main objective, actually coming together. Because insurance, in now part of the world, needs some little bit of organizing and you know, ensuring that there's common uniform practices and all of that. And just as you said, I mean, talking about 30 years ago, you know, that they had that foresight and the vision. And I'll tell you, the objectives are still standing the test of time because it's an ongoing thing. And you know, from the chats I had with them at the time, because we have a lot of organizations in our sub-region and beyond as far as insurance organizing is concerned. And they've been exposed to the collaborations outside of the Gambia. West African Insurance Companies Association, the African Insurance Organization out there. So they've had the opportunity also to be exposed to the Lloyds of London and all of that. Now they see how organized insurance is in these other parts of the world and other countries. And basically they wanted the best for the Gambia. And this idea actually came out of the meeting in Liberia. You'll be surprised that they decided, look, we need to come together, we have to form an association. But more so to actually bring them together, to be putting heads together as much as possible, to ensure that they have a uniform practice, to give out the best to the insuring public out there, for the Gambian economy to really you know, have the feel of what insurance actually really plays in the economy.
Yeah. You know. Okay, I joined the industry in 2007, and it's a testimony to the seed, the foundation sown by these three gentlemen that you have mentioned. The association is no different from any other trade association, and we try to not only cooperate but also to even self-regulate and ensure that we meet minimum professional standards. So the Insurance Association of the Gambia has been doing quite a lot in that regard.
Now, going back to one of the objectives for which the association has been formed, which is to enhance and pursue collaboration, not only, okay, I mean, as long as the association is concerned within the context of the Gambia, but I know that you are the Director General of the West Africa Insurance Institute, and I think these cover the Anglophone, five Anglophone countries. How much of a challenge is it, you know, from a coordination perspective in terms of insurance service between these five Anglophone countries in terms of doling out the services that you provide through the institute?
Yes.
Is it, if I may just expand a little bit on that, I know people flock into the Gambia from all these five countries, but is it that the program you offer at the level of the institute is one that could apply in any of these five Anglophone countries?
Perfect. Insurance is always international, as I've told you. The principles of insurance are the same everywhere. Practices may differ depending on the level of professionalism that we have. So what YE does is like a center in which all of them congregate and we learn from the practices of each other so that we improve the weaker markets that we have. So YE serves as a forum for the aggregation of ideas and also for the dissemination of knowledge. So YE definitely is doing very well in that regard.
Okay. I would want to come to the issue of insurance products and services. And from the little knowledge I have, and having lived in the Western world, or having studied in the Western world, we know that the potential for insurance to thrive is enhanced as earning per capita increases. Because people would naturally want to secure the assets that they have managed to create over the years. The products that you offer, the traditional products by way of auto insurance, medical insurance, marine insurance, and even the new products in terms of life insurance, insurance for kids' education, insurance for unemployment. Those services, are they impacted by the average earning power of Gambians? And if that is the case, what would you reckon you would need to do, considering the reality that increasing earnings per capita takes a while to enhance, and you have a market to run and a business to run and to be profitable in that regard as well? What is it that you use as an enabler, if you will, to convince people to take up the requisite insurance services and products that you offer?
Thank you. I think generally we have to get to the core of what is the relevance of insurance. And as you would have it, every individual out there, every business out there, insurance is a priority in order for you to ensure continuity, as far as financial security is really concerned. So what happens here is, of course, like you said, the purchasing power, we would have to call it, has a lot to say out of it. In as much as you want to really buy the insurance, you need to be, in a position to actually really pay for it. Insurance is governed by the law of large numbers and the contribution of the many for the unfortunate few. And I think we have this traditionally in our cultures and communities, that when somebody has a misfortune, they contribute. Susu, concept and all of these things. So we basically like custodians to these things and managing it. So the economy of this country, has everybody's hands in it, from the small scale guy in the street to the big corporate institution out there. We all have a role to play in the economic growth, and insurance comes there to protect from the base to the top. And like you said, what happens here is with the concern of the average, earners, there's the emergence of microinsurance, we call it today, that comes to the grassroots, to the poor farmer, out there. It's like just the way the OSISO actually really works, but then in a more organized manner. We're saying we're all exposed to the risk. Because if you go through the risk management process, insurance is one of the greatest solutions out of this. So we've realized that the baseline, that is the bottom of the pyramid, has a great need for protection in terms of insurance products are concerned. So, but then mind you, the insurance products are also designed to meet the demand and actually take care of the exposures of the general public out there. We had a study some few years ago that we went out there to the average market stall owner that is standing there behind some vegetables. You were amazed on the level of exposure that they actually have. Exposure to fire damaging their stall and products. If that happens, they're out of business.
Happens at Serekunda Market
exactly,
some years
things
ago.
like that. Yes, we've seen that. And in fact, from the survey, we went to Serekunda Market, we found some guys sitting down, hanging with their colleagues. They used to have shops, but they don't have any shops anymore because it was burnt. Now, I always really reflect on an old woman that I found at the Bakau Market selling small items. And the woman said out of the proceeds of her sales, she schools her kids. If they're sick, her grandkids included. If they're sick, it's proceeds of that she actually takes to take them to the hospital, school fees, feeding, name it. And imagine that stall that you're looking at that looks very basic. It's what is actually providing for an entire family. And then the exposures, like I said, you have the exposure for fire, you have exposure for medical, exposure of failing to pay for their schooling. Insurance comes out there to see that these are the needs of the people out there and provide this. And then, like I said, at the micro level, there's a great emergence of this coming, and governments are taking the lead to ensure that this is actually really there. To the agricultural side, Mr. You actually coming, which is core. Yes, farmers.
Yes, but I think you've lived in the developed world, and you see the importance placed on insurance. Insurance is a function of the performance of the entire economy. If the economy is performing well, insurance too will perform well. If the economy is depressed, insurance too will be depressed because it depends on disposable income. If there's no disposable income, it is difficult for people to actually purchase insurance. And then the awareness of the value and importance of insurance is another thing. And as an association, we are working on that to increase the level of awareness. And then the types of products that are relevant to the needs of the people. Max mentioned microinsurance. That's the new thing because we are penetrating the low-income earners. Agricultural insurance. There's 75% of people are rural people, are agrarian economy. These are the things we are focusing on. So we are doing our own little bit to ensure that we provide the relevant protection for the people in the economy.
It's important, Max, that you raise the issue of insurance in regards to agriculture. Someone like me, though would appreciate the fact that farmers have to be protected, but if we look at the economy and we look at the mainstay of insurance, traditionally, what we've been accustomed to, one would think that insurance or micro finance insurance, as you referred it to, perhaps haven't started or is yet to emerge as long as this country is concerned. Could you enlighten the viewers out there in terms of what is it practically that the insurance companies in the Gambia are doing, and perhaps of relevance to the Ministry of Agriculture as well, you know, or any other agricultural institution in the country? What is it that you could do to help by way of partnership to help address some of these risks that the agricultural farmers, out there, whether they are the, the vegetable garden women, in their CAFOs or what have you, how they could be helped? You know, what sort of arrangement could be held? Because we know that this is a reality. I know that the NDMA, you know, works with the African Development Bank in terms of trying to take up a risk, you know, that should protect farmers in the event of drought and stuff. So are these things that you guys are plugged into as well?
Yes. Microinsurance is new to the Gambia. Microinsurance is new to the sub-region. Now, the ILO, the International Labour Organization, GIZ, the German Development Corporation, and even the World Bank, they are now sponsoring and spearheading the promotion of microinsurance into West Africa. They are working with the regulatory authorities, through the regulatory authorities to us as insurance companies to take these things. Now, the problem with agricultural insurance, for instance, we need to get relevant data, geographical meteorological data, because it has to deal with drought, you have to deal with flood, you have to do all of these things. So we need some technical capacity, expertise from these relevant organizations. That's why, as at now, they are working through the regulatory authorities to flow and make sure that microinsurance comes into the Gambia.
Okay. I think there's efforts underway, because, like you said, the World Bank is actually funding ventures on this index insurance, mainly agricultural at the micro level. And the Gambia has been opportune to actually benefit from some training exposures. Of course, the regulator, as I said, are involved in this. We had the opportunity to chat with our neighbors, because we more or less have the same climatic conditions, you know, practices and all of that. They had a bitter experience taking it off, but then they've learned and recouped to the extent now it's a success story. But this is government-led. It has to be government-led. And the World Bank actually subsidizes and funds a lot of these things. In Senegal, the reinsurance aspect of it is highly subsidized, or else it wouldn't happen. But then this is a stakeholder thing, and that's the beauty of you having your program, trying to really, you know, correlate the different sectors. I mean, we have to grow the economy together. We can't do it alone. We have a role to play as insurance, but there's everybody else that got their roles to play as an economy. We can't do it alone. We can't get anywhere. Now, if we all grow the economy, they all stand to really benefit. Like you said, the disposable income. If we playing a role and other sector is not playing their role, there wouldn't be any disposable income. You know, so now, I mean, you know, we will get there. But then now what happens here is, as far as this is concerned, we've engaged the regulators. we've actually started working on a plan of action wherein the Ministry of Finance has to be involved, the Ministry of Agriculture has to be involved, and the success story in Senegal, I always quote Senegal because I see lots of stories in it, and it's a fact. They have all stakeholders in this to come together, from the word go to feel part of the thing. The Farmers Association, the cooperative unions, they all have a stake in this. And in this instance, it's not going to be like insurance coming in as operators.
Yeah.
We're just going to be
Partners,
stakeholders.
yes.
We're going to be partners in this. And wherever you have stakeholders jointly owning a particular venture, there is always a success to these things. And that's what they've actually really learned. In the past, they had an agricultural insurance company. But the other stakeholders would say no. You know, there's, undermining, there's sabotage and all that. Now they turned around and get all the stakeholders to come to the drawing board, and then together they have the national insurance, the agricultural insurance company, and it is a success story. The World Bank actually is funding very hugely, significantly to these things. And now what we happen to say, in terms of insurance practice, we're very fortunate in the Gambia. We basically can really beat ages by actually killing from where others actually had successes, learning from their mistakes and experiences. And the whole collaboration of the West African Insurance Companies Association, the African Insurance Organization, we share experiences. And we try to unify our practice and all of that.
In Nigeria, you have a specialized agricultural insurance company owned 100% by the government to provide agricultural insurance. And in our own small way in this market in Hawaii now, we offer agricultural insurance as a subject at diploma level and also micro insurance as a subject at diploma level. So that we're training people who are poised to take up when the rest of the stakeholders are ready for us to move into agriculture and micro insurance.
Excellent point the both of you made in terms of the need for regulation. And I'm very pleased to hear that the insurance companies in the Gambia, by way of the association, working with government, to help bring a greater awareness in terms of the potential benefits. I cannot help but ask this question. Does the IAG, the Insurance Association of the Gambia, in any way try to play a lobby role for government? And not only playing a lobby role, but trying to bring to the awareness of government that if we take agriculture, for example, which is a mainstay as long as livelihood in this economy is concerned. If you are able to provide insurance scheme, be it one that is supported and subsidized by the multilateral organizations in partnership with insurance companies in the country, if, for example, there's a poor harvest as a result of drought, you could actually piggyback, on the risk premiums that would, the risk payments that would arise from there, and then you would pay out your ordinary voter in the street who would not feel the pinch.
That's what naturally.
Exactly. So perhaps, is this something? Do you guys paint it in that regard for them to understand? Because sometimes in our part of the world, you have to speak the language, for people to understand. And not speak grammar as they would say, but say that, these are the benefits that are to be realized from this. And in the event of a drought, the farmer who would have worked out, if at all there was no drought and has a bumper harvest, would still work out, perhaps not at 100%, but maybe 80, 75%. And next time you come around and, you could use that to actually make a case for them to vote for you.
That's exactly why, precisely why the World Bank and all these multinational organizations don't deal directly with the insurance companies. They go through government and the regulators. So from the onset, they are involved in all aspects of the formulation of policies relating to microinsurance and agricultural insurance. So we are doing a bit, but as he has said, we have all the stakeholders, they are involved from the beginning. It's not only us telling them, it is also the World Bank telling them. It's also all these organizations telling them that this is the way we have to go.
But private sector has to be involved.
Of course.
Because government is overly busy.
Of course.
So the private sector, in a way, has to be involved to push the agenda.
Of course.
Because government is overwhelmed with so many issues.
The most recent World Bank conference that they had, seminar that they had, the central bank, which are regulators, they were involved, and also the insurance association was involved. So we are in partnership. To ensure that we realize all of these things.
Well, like you said, what happens here is we have to take the drive actually to really push. We know they will have to take the lead, but we basically do the provocation and try to really kill from the experiences of other markets and try to really throw it at them.
Yeah.
For us as a sector, we need to be organized. And like you said, we have our set objectives. And we've realized that we need to really get somewhere. And we need to get in a particular way to get the set objectives actually really fully realized. And learning from the sister countries out there, what is actually getting their sectors more successful and ahead. We learn from that and we try to really introduce. And that's why we have the West Coast Insurance Companies Association on sharing experiences and all of that. Out of that, we also form an association of the insurance regulators in these five. WISA. Just to really get these countries closer in terms of practice and all of that. And one thing that is actually really happening for us as a sector, we have a strategic and development plan for 5 years, that is 2017-2021, that we've actually set out. And we had a consultant actually work on this independently. And all stakeholders, we actually engage in this process. We have the set priorities, out of this plan to say if these things actually fall in place, I mean, the insurance sector and industry is going to be, something else.
Sure.
And of course, the regulators are engaged in this. The government is engaged in this. Of course, like you said, it's time, but we're on it. We're trying to really push and see this through because we want the best out there for the Gambian economy. Just to really say, because we have great collaboration with the wider markets out there. Name it, the biggest European and American insurance companies, reinsurance companies. Basically working with Gambian companies. So what is really best out there, we're bringing out to the doorstep. I think, it doesn't matter where you are. Like Frederick said, it's a global village. And as far as insurance practice is concerned, the best and the widest access is really out there in this country. No matter how big the risk is, we can handle this. No matter what product, what exposure it is, no is not the answer to this. We can really provide the protection. And as far as the economy is concerned, our own role is actually really there. We just need to be, listened to.
You mentioned the fact that you have a strategy plan, a development plan, 2017 to 2021. And the buzzword in the Gambia now is all about strategic planning. And I would make reference to the National Development Plan that the current government has ushered in. And as recent as Tuesday of this week, you are all aware of the fact that the President, His Excellency Adam Barrow, led a delegation to Brussels, where EU had come out in their numbers and have pledged 1.45 billion euros towards the National Development Plan of the Gambia. Pledge as it is a first step and it's a formidable first step, and we must congratulate the current government under the leadership of Barrow, for taking that initiative and having that goodwill in terms of EU partnership. That's not too far. 2018, 2021, 2017, 2021. Do you see yourself in that 1.45 billion euro mix?
Very much so.
Are you
let me. Oh yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, we already actually deal with a lot of big European companies, and we do a lot of collaboration. You realize that you have multinationals operating in Gambia, and in big scale, and already Gambian insurance industry plays a key role in ensuring that these multinationals operate smoothly. Of course, through their parent companies, but more so with the bigger, insurance, market out there. This huge pledge, as you call it, I would say there's already a very positive side to it, in that there's a goodwill. Because when it came out, the private sector is very much involved in this, because we were engaged and even invited, because you have a lot of private sector practitioners actually that were part of the delegation. I think it's very positive to show that we actually given the opportunity to play the role that we have a stake in this, and we really established and can really provide whatever you know, really it is. I mean, because this will be coming in different forms, infrastructural development,
Exactly.
you know, the priority sectors of education, health, and all of that.
Energy.
You know, energy particularly,
Yes,
you know.
you
So,
said, yes, the insurance is the engine of economic growth. And this pledge, of course, would kickstart the economy. And as long as the economy functions well and develops and grows, then of course insurance would benefit and provide the cushion and the springboard for the economy to develop. So obviously we have a stake, a very big stake to play in that economic development.
You are the president of the Insurance Association of the Gambia. And if I may just play devil's advocate here, in the past regime, and here I'm thinking of huge investments, the likes of the tank farm in Mandinari, Gam Petroleum.
yes.
But not only that, other major infrastructural developments, say for example at the ports and stuff like that. Is the insurance, is insurance, as long as Gambian insurance is concerned, companies in the Gambia, operating within the Gambia, whether it's by way of direct insurance or reinsurance, have you had participation in some of those projects?
Yes.
You have?
Yes. All of these risks, I'll tell you, because insurance is just wonderful. I mean, you know, I always really say, we set the base, you know, we make sure that you actually don't go below, you know, wherever you actually really are, but it's like just the sky is the limit, as they say. The big infrastructural development in this country, you see all the schools, all the hospitals, has insurance participate in this. Because at the stage of construction, you know, you have what you call the contracts of orange insurance, you have the bonds, the guarantees we provide, just as the banks will provide to the contractors to ensure that these things come to fruition. Now at completion also, we provide relevant insurances. The petroleum depot you're talking about, the Gambia Ports Authority for the longest time has benefited immensely from insurance. I mean, you know, from the longest time, you know, I actually make mention of a big vessel that sunk, that the Ports Authority actually owned, but it was insured. And it is a local Gambia insurance company that actually was covering these things and actually,
I think
so protection is really there as far as
it comes to, boils down to capacity. And the beauty of insurance is that however small that company is, with adequate reinsurance protection, it can take the biggest of risks. So the other countries in Anglophone West Africa, what they have done is to ensure that all insurances of properties in their countries are domesticated. That means there are legislation that states that all properties in these countries should be insured firstly with insurance companies incorporated in these countries. We hope that one can also be replicated here, so that all the insurances that we have here go through insurance companies here, and they would obviously have the capacity by way of reinsurance and co-insurance to ensure that the risk is adequately protected.
Local content participation.
Yes.
And I hope that this is one issue that the Insurance Association of the Gambia would push through a lobby to ensure that government begins to look at this. Now you spoke.
There's another one. There's another act related to this one. This marine. It's marine. In all these countries also, you have legislation that all marine imports should be insured with companies locally registered in the local country. Because we do not have it here. But these are all ways of growing the insurance companies and by extension growing the economy. So these are all issues that we are taking. It's part of the strategic plan that the President has mentioned. And the other thing we are looking at is to ensure that we have our own independent regulatory body that will be able to channel most of these things on our behalf.
Now you spoke of capacity in terms of reinsurance, financial capacity, but equally intellectual capacity.
Yes.
Now I want to go a little bit into your area as the Director General of the West Africa Insurance Institute. We know that the Institute has contributed immensely to the progress that we have seen as long as insurance is concerned in the insurance industry in the Gambia. And over the years, I have had family members who have actually gone to the Institute and has come out as graduates and are working in the insurance business. So I'm glad that I'm supporting the institute to grow in one way, or the other. Does the industry have the capacity to absorb the number of graduates that the institute is churning out? Or is it one of those where the industry would say, well, the more they churn out, the better, because chances are we'll have some best and brightest and we can be selective who to choose and not who to choose?
Why has been a blessing for the Gambia? Actually it was founded and relocated in Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia. And then it was because of the war that it was relocated to the Gambia. And as you have said, since its relocation to the Gambia, we've produced a lot of graduates. Mm-hmm. But one thing we do is not only producing graduates, we also retrain our graduates, continuous professional development. So you find out that even the existing graduates, we offer refresher courses, we offer specialized training in other areas that they benefit from. So it's not only the new graduates that we churn out regularly that we are particularly concerned about. But in line with what you have said, we are looking at the reforms that are going on now in the market, and we expect that with all these things, when they actually are put in place, we'll experience an expansion in insurance activity, and so we'll have ready-made graduates who will be able to fill all the roles that we are envisaging.
Okay. I just want to come in quickly here, because I always say we look at things at the macro level, and producing of graduates from the school, it's not just for the insurance companies, but there's other corporate operators that need risk managers and need insurance, personnel to actually take care of their insurance needs and all of that. And we're having a lot of other institutions training, and of course the graduates they're producing actually getting in there. The Insurance Association actually, some couple of years ago, helped form some schools to form insurance clubs. And then that is actually turned out to actually get these young guys so much interested in insurance that now a lot of them actually going to the school. We talk about the insurance graduates. What about the University of the Gambia graduates? What are we really going to do with all these graduates? I would really say Gambia needs to really be seen as a hub, and it's high time we actually start looking at producing and actually feeding to other markets out there that are actually in need of skilled workers and all of that. If we can really absorb all of this, I think at the larger scale we have to really be thinking that way. I mean, we have big insurance organizations out there, and the advocate we're actually trying to have of recent is actually get our insurance personnel well trained to the extent that they'll be working with these big European, because we've seen other nationals working at the African insurance corporations, Waikari, Swiss Re, name it. So I mean, it's a phase we're getting at, but our aim is actually to really get all these people actually producing. But then, of course, the economy always has a key role to play in all of these things. And I think, like Mr. Boynjon actually mentioned, we talked about the issue of having a legislation on marine insurance. We've done an 8 memoir showing clearly what level of income this country and economy could actually really benefit from. In terms of taxes that we actually really be paying as insurance companies, kinds of employment that could be created out of the proceeds of all of these things. And this is all thrown out to the policymakers, and if it's actually heeded to, what other countries actually benefiting will actually stand to really benefit, under these circumstances. Of course, like you said, the issue of the local content laws. There's reforms on the way, and of course in our strategic and development plan we have actually really highlighted a lot of these things to of course have lobby groups to really push the government to actually adapt to the practices of some of these other sister countries to get the insurance to play its rightful and pivotal role in the economy of this country, and it will benefit the country, as a whole. We know all it actually takes. We have it there. We're actually trying to really throw it out. It just needed to be heeded to, and this Gambia will stand to really benefit, especially these young ones actually coming up, getting trained, and wanting to be employed and all of that. The solution is there. It's not magic.
I think that's quite a noble, initiative, and we hope that all these plans that are embedded within your strategic plan would actually come to fruition. I totally agree and understand that sometimes There is need, for government to be lobbied. There is need for government to be shown that this thing is of relevance and it will help make a difference in terms of our economic development aspirations. But by the same token, it is imperative, that the private sector pushes, that you have a lobby that pushes, and engage, so that these things would begin to be paid attention to. I cannot help but appreciate, over the years in the Gambia, the number of excellent institutes that have found the Gambia as a base. Hawaii is one of them. The other one also is the West Africa Institute for Finance and Economic Management, WIFEM, an excellent institute as well. Looking at all these institutes that are coming up, and all of them having some West African orientation, be it Anglophone or both Anglophone and Francophone, do you foresee that maybe there's an opportunity where YFM and Y, would collaborate? I know Y is in risk and management and YFM is in finance and economic management. There has to be, because finance and economic management is underpinned by some degree of risk management as well. So could there be some sort of opportunity between the two institutions where you could collaborate to explore cross-fertilization opportunities, all for the sake of just ensuring that you not only expand your mandate but bear relevance from both perspectives?
Certainly, sir. Insurance is part of the financial services industry, although it is specialized, and we have concentrated on providing insurance technical education. But in the financial industry, there are certain things that cut across. Enterprise risk management is one. Even all the management, executive management, and all these things, corporate governance, sectoral governance. Yes, and these are all issues that cut across all the financial institutions. And we have been running programs. Quite recently, we did one on financial governance for financial institutions, that we had people from the banking sector being facilitators, because we wanted to do sectoral analysis. So definitely we are looking at areas in which we can cooperate with some of these institutions, these institutes that offer similar services. We're working towards those things. There's always the opportunity for that.
Okay. Let me take that question one step further. And I'm sure Max would know where this question is coming from. As a former banker, and just because you are a former banker and just because you have had so much experience doesn't mean that you know it all. I was quite pleasantly surprised, if I may say so, that I've seen that insurance companies play quite formidably within the trade, within the international trade scope. I'm sure Max knows where I'm coming from. But I'm going to ask a question. Do the insurance companies and the banks, collaborate? I know one of the objectives for the formation of the IAG was to help see how you can broaden your scope and engage with, like-minded players, But do you see any potential between insurance and the banking industry working together to help address some issues, to facilitate and promote business in general?
Yes, I think it's already happening, really. Like I said, insurance has a role in a lot of these things. I mean, you see some business really flourishing out there. I'm not knowing that insurance is playing a key role, because one of the reasons why one would actually insure would emanate from some contractual obligation. Now, the business guy, whether he's in the trade or the infrastructural operator, needing some facilities from the bank. The bank needs some peace of mind. They want some level of protection. Be it from the director's point of view, to ensure that the directors are covered, the owners of the business, just in case something goes wrong, insurance provides that protection. To ensure that the infrastructure properties are protected against certain risk fire, burglary, and all of that. The banks put it as a condition. We can give you a loan facility, but you must ensure what you're putting up as collateral from the individual's private dwelling house and all of that. We provide protection. Their lives, mortgage protection. So we provide all of these things. So it realizes the flourishing of a lot of businesses, flourishing of a lot of insurance development actually emanates from the participation of insurance companies. So we basically get to the extent where if we don't actually come in, the bank wouldn't actually get into it. So there's a collaboration within the banks. And at the lower level, to the extent of even individual loans, the banks requires that you have some level of protection in terms of your personal abilities, health, your life, and all of these things. And who else? But insurance comes into play, these things. So in a great role, we've actually played. We've gone to the extent where we've developed products that are actually customized purposely for banks. And some would call it bank assurance. So it's like banking and assurance product, to really cater for some of these things. And it's actually paying off in a great way in that the insurance role in all of these things actually makes it easy for certain individuals and institutions to actually get access to financing from the banks. So I think in a great way. But then, of course, we can actually always expand on some of these things. But I'll tell you, there is some great correlation of the banking sector and the insurance sector as far as these services actually are concerned.
There are some areas in which, well, some people can say that there is an overlap in roles between the banks and insurers. And basically it's by way of the insurance of financial and pecuniary interests, bonds and these guarantees and all these things that banks also offer. But strictly speaking, anything that has to do with protection has to do with insurance. What banks should do is savings and investments. But you find out that banks also give guarantees. They give all these things. So I think that's where you have the overlapping roles. But I think we can always sit and cooperate. If you have proper regulation, these things will be easily defined. But they are more in the realm of insurance than banking.
Excellent. Now, I'm going to do a follow-up question in that regard. And whilst I appreciate the fact that there is some degree of collaboration, that collaboration might be benign in the sense that insurance companies provide it's not the bank's core business to be in that business, so they will tell you, ensure that you get this, then you come, and then we can give you the loan that we want to give you. And I appreciate the fact that Mr. Bowen John made in terms of the distinction that insurance is protection, and therefore when we talk of things like guarantees, whether it's in trade or what have you, insurance should be in the lead and banks should be in the lead as long as loans, investments and stuff are concerned. It is important that, as an economy that is looking at developing, and to realize economic development, that we begin to look at these opportunities, in cross correlation. Opportunities, and begin to work out strategies in which we would begin to focus on our core mandate, because it would also help the economy to grow. But a particular point of interest is, and we spoke about this earlier, insurance, microfinance insurance, and here I'm interested in agriculture. The banks in this country, I had the bank, the MD of Stanchart and the executive director of the executive secretary of the Bankers Association in the previous forum. Banks in this country would not lend to agriculture, and for obvious reasons. We know it's all about risk and risk management. Who is more particular in terms of risk and risk management than insurance companies? So if the Insurance Association in the Gambia and insurance companies in the Gambia are better placed to work and provide microfinance at the level of agricultural farmers with the support of government, if insurance companies are able to do that, then banks should now be able to take that appetite because you're providing a counter, if you will, against one of the core concerns as to why they are not lending to agriculture in the first place. So this is what I'm actually referring to. I don't know whether this is in your strategic plan, 2017, 2021, but is this an area where perhaps we need to begin to look into? Of course, with the support of government, because I know government understands the relevance and importance of agriculture to this economy, the number of people whose mainstay and livelihood is in agriculture. But also not only that, but the people who holds the votes as well. So should we begin as a country to begin to look at these things, critically, and beginning to create strategic initiatives that would help all spheres of the economy so that we would begin to grow as an economy?
I agree with you. There's a distinction between microfinance and microinsurance. And I think the mistake made was that they delved into microinsurance, microfinance, without microinsurance. And in fact, in some countries, what they actually did, the microfinance went with some elements of insurance.
Yes.
And because they were not experts in managing the insurance aspect, the microfinance failed. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons, one of the problems we have had here. So that it means that they have to go hand in hand. The microfinance will have to go with the microinsurance, and then obviously nobody would fail. And it will be a private-public partnership for us to get that one to succeed.
Excellent. Gentlemen, this is the reason why the program has been put in place. It is to help us discuss, bring out the ideas, and hopefully we would get moving as an economy. Thank you. 1 hour goes by so fast. But the last question that we'll probably have chance to discuss is the bit regarding medical insurance. Very sensitive.
That should be a program of itself.
Well, if you promise me that we would host another program in which we would look at medical insurance, I'll be more than happy to leave that question, and then we can look at another question.
It's good you actually raise it. It's core, but then I think that is something that should be of national concern.
Yes, and it requires
the doctors and other countries are actually saying we're having national schemes, because medical care is something that every individual actually really needs. Insurance is there trying to play that role, but then the collaboration of the relevant stakeholders and the appreciation is not really there to get where we actually want to really get. It's got to be. I made mention the issue of the law of like numbers as far as insurance is concerned. We should have been getting somewhere that, the practice is so good to the extent that every individual out there should be able to walk into an insurance company and say, I'm buying medical insurance. And with the use of a card, medical care and facilities would be, affordable to everybody.
Gentlemen, what I would do is I would save that for a complete different episode. But the last question, therefore, having had that gentleman's agreement, is the one regarding small, medium-sized enterprises. Key to the economy of this country. What is it that the insurance companies in the Gambia and the Insurance Association of the Gambia is doing to help ensure that more small and medium-sized enterprises pick up all the requisite insurances that would help their businesses in this country?
Okay, I think there's already reforms underway. The insurance laws of this country are being actually looked at, and the Insurance Companies Association of the Gambia has actually made proposals to the government to adapt the practices in some other countries, sister countries of WICA, to get certain insurances compulsory, just like you have motor insurance compulsory. You need to get to the point where certain risk exposures as a public operator needs to be insured. But of course, we will come back to this issue of getting our economy to really grow. The small, medium-sized enterprises need disposable income in order to take up certain insurances. There are certain insurances you could get to be compulsory, but you can't just impose everything on them. Now the issue of protection, at times it's like they need to be forced to protect themselves. We talk about the marine, insurance legislation. Now you have somebody that is a businessman, imports some goods, and it's lost or damaged at sea. That cripples their business, gets kicked and all of these things, So there's lots of exposures, but then to protect the economy, you want to make sure that there is certain basic insurances that are actually in place to ensure there is continuity. As basic as liability. You are in the tourism sector. The small restaurant operator is a small scale operator to the medium-sized operator, to the large-scale operator that operates out there dealing with guests, you know, dealing with members of the public, and could be doomed as a result of some happening of a particular risk.
Gentlemen,
yes.
we have to leave it there. I'm sorry, but I'm being told that our 1 hour is up. Mr. Max, it was a pleasure having you on the program, and we would table the medical insurance bit on a different forum.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure. Yeah. Thanks.
Mr. Bowen John,
yes, sir.
It was a pleasure having you on this program. Thank you very much. Thank you
you
for accepting our invitation, and I'm sure we will see you again.
Okay,
thank you.
Sir.
Thank you very much.